Good morning, everybody. I hope you guys are doing great. There's something I just want to share. I hope the Holy Spirit is going to help me share it the way that I received it. Pastor Mel on Instagram is someone that I follow. She has prayers every morning from 6 to 7:30. And each and every month, there's a different topic that we are praying against. And in the month of Feb, we are praying about subduing systems. So she explained this as this, that sometimes when you have a problem with a particular person, and she used a boss as an example, the problem is in a spiritual level, the problem is not just your boss. The problem could just be the whole system in your workplace that is a problem. And she further explained that each system is usually governed by a God. So when you are praying, you are not really targeting your boss, but you are targeting the system and specifically the God that is governing that system. And today she was talking about that when you're subduing these systems, you need God's favor to be over you, to help you in subduing those systems. And God's favor is unable to be over you, is unable to dwell or settle in your heart if your heart carries bitterness and resentment. So bitterness and resentment works against the favor of God. And therefore, if the favor of God is not upon you, you might be unable to subdue those systems. She used Joseph as an example. We know Joseph's story, how much the trauma that he experienced. But instead of Joseph dwelling in his trauma, Joseph, because God's favor was upon Joseph, whatever Joseph touched was prospering because God's favor was upon him. And for someone who has experienced so much trauma, the Bible doesn't tell us that Joseph carried resentment towards his brothers. Instead, it tells us that Joseph told his brothers when he met them that what you meant for evil, God meant it for good, because now I am in Egypt and able to help my people in Israel. So she said that Joseph didn't carry a heart of resentment and heart of bitterness concerning the things that he has experienced, and because of that, God's favor was upon him. So even when Joseph was imprisoned for 2 years for something that he didn't do, instead of being self-centered and sitting in his pain, he became so selfless in so much that he was able to see other people's pain. Because the Pharaoh's cupbearer and the baker were also imprisoned by the time Joseph was imprisoned. And one day Joseph saw that they were unsettled. They didn't look okay. And he went to them and asked them, what happened? Why are you looking like this? And they told him their story. And Joseph was able to help them. So for someone who has gone through so much pain, Joseph was so selfless in so much that he was able to step outside of his pain and help other people. That is why God's favor was upon Joseph. So I guess the message is this. We know the traumas that you have experienced. We also have experienced some traumas, but the message is that we mustn't dwell on those traumas in so much that there is bitterness and resentment in our hearts. Because if bitterness and resentment sits in our hearts, God's favor is not gonna be on us. And we might think we are being bewitched when we keep on praying and things are not working the way we want them to work to, only to find out that you are actually bewitching yourself by keeping the resentment and the bitterness that you have towards other people, because now God is unable to hear your prayers. God's favor is unable to be poured upon you because your heart is full of bitterness and resentment. She also explained that when people are in pain, they tend to vent so much that people get tired of them. That every time I am meeting with you, you are just venting, telling me about your pain and the things that you went through and all that. You become heavy on people's shoulders in so much trauma that people might not trust you with bigger things. So be careful not to vent about your pain in the corridors of your destiny. Because Joseph, instead of venting to the cupbearer and baker, instead of venting his pain to them, he ended up helping them, and because of that he gained favor to Pharaoh's eyes, and Joseph ended up being a prime minister in Egypt. So I hope you guys are getting it, that A heart that carries resentment and bitterness will not find God's favor, and therefore you will think everything is working against you, only to find out it is your heart that is not pure. And also be careful not to put your pain on people's shoulders instead of putting it on God's shoulders. When are you putting it on people's shoulders, in so much that people see you as an unstable person to be promoted, or an unstable person to be put in certain places? So do not vent your pain in the corridors of your destiny, because it might work against you. Be still